I thank you guys for joining us for episode 75 of Black Coffee and Crime. So thank you guys again for letting us talk to you, entertain you for 75 episodes and, some little ones in between. So thank you so much. It's been almost 2 years. Coming up in June, it'll be 2 years since we've been doing this.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, every week, give or take, sometimes every week. So we do thank you. My name is Brandy. We have another Brandy W, and Jackie. We're always together. Just in case you are a new subscriber, thank you so much. We also have a page on Facebook and Instagram, both Black Coffee and Crime. Visit us there. We always announce our new episodes. We also put random shit on there. This show is all about talking about crime, talking about what we see on the internet, and then just talking about what we want to talk about in general. We are not law enforcement professionals. We don't do this for a living. So we have other stuff to do with our lives. So if we miss information, if we misspeak, let us know. Be respectful in the comments or email us info@blackcoffeecrime.com or Facebook or Instagram. What's that?
Brandon, did you see the message we got on Facebook?
Which one? From Carol?
Well, she was just like, she pretty much just saying she enjoyed the show.
Yes, that Carol is the one that wanted us to do the episode on Brian Wells and the pizza bombing in Erie, Pennsylvania. She requested it. We did it, and she liked it. She said, we talked about it the way she would expect us to talk about it. And she did like our approach and our perspective. So that is great. Always good to hear. We like compliments. If you've got some creative criticism, if you've got any suggestions, we will bring it to life. We will talk about it. So just hit us up. But again, always be respectful because we ain't got time for. We just ain't. We just ain't. We already talked about. We already talked about me not having a church home. So what that means is, yeah, that's I ain't got no church home. So I really don't give a damn. So I ain't got nobody to answer to. I ain't got no ushers, no mother's board.
Let me tell you what's funny, Brandy.
To answer to.
My pastor talked about not having a church home on Sunday. When I tell you, I was in there dying. I'm like, all I could think about was you. He was like, it's so important to have a church home, because the Bible says, and I'm thinking about, I can't even 100% focus. I'm laughing because I'm thinking, Brenda saying, I ain't going no church.
What did the Bible say about having a church home?
I can't remember. No, about just having church as a staff.
Just fellowshipping with like-minded.
Yeah, just fellowshipping. But it was just funny to me because all I could think about was you and the not having a church home. So.
Well, there's that. And there are advantages apparently to not having one because that just means I can say what I want to say and I ain't got to be accountable to no deacon board or mother's board or shut up, Randy. We do not offer your opinion in this. We're gonna move right past this. Thank you so very much. All right. All right. Do we have yes, we do have some church announcements. I got a prayer request, y'all. And the only reason I have prayer request is because I went back to work today.
Oh man.
Now I have been working, but I have been working from the comforts of my second bedroom, the comfort of my onesies and my robe and my pajamas and my slippers, my coffee cup with my Keurig and my hair not combed.
Oh, what? Sorry.
But today I had to wake up at the ass crack of dawn, the day after daylight savings time. Venture out into the cold, y'all, and find parking and go into that building.
Yikes.
And let me tell you, I had combed my hair and everything. I was looking cute this morning. My hair was laid to the side and everything. Edges was, I just got my edges like shaved off, right? But I had, I had it pulled down and everything was everything, y'all. Let me tell you, that wind picked up as soon as I parked my car and got out of that car. And all my little pieces. They was on the West End. They was in Deep Ella. They was down there at Dealey Plaza. All my little pieces was just everywhere downtown today, and they wouldn't get right. So I got to do this again tomorrow.
You're right.
And I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Just stretch it out for it. Stretch it. Stretch your hand.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Touch it.
And they done sent us back to work talking about we all got to. Thank you so much. They talking about we all got to go back to work. Why was there only 3 people in my office?
How many supposed to be in there?
We can't say where I work, but I work for the company, the man, and we got 3 people in my office.
Everybody out there just your department.
But no, we got notices. I got a notice a month ago to say, hey, you got to be back at work on the 10th, but I was sick, so I couldn't go. But everyone else had to be there by the 1st. So this it? This ain't nobody else coming? This it? Because, I will say,
it's supposed to be a full office.
Well, my team, the majority of my team is in Florida. Some of them are in New Jersey. So it's just myself and another team member. But I'm just saying, as a whole, I think I saw a total of 10 people today on my floor. That's it. So I don't know who came back to work. If everybody else just said they ain't coming or they didn't take the vaccine, I don't know. But I'm gonna be in need because
they lied about not taking the vaccine.
It's because the company is not gonna make you come to work at this point if you don't have the vaccine at this point. So I don't know what's gonna happen going forward, but that's not necessarily, that can't be permanent because it's not fair, because I gotta go to work, I gotta spend the gas and get dressed and comb my hair, but you don't. That's not fair. So yeah. And I think it's really about me having to comb my hair. I don't really care about the gas.
That's the problem.
I gotta get up and comb my hair. But Dallas be throwing my little pieces everywhere, y'all. Look, my little pieces was everywhere. They was just sprinkled all over the place. It just wasn't right. All right. Well, thank you so much for the prayer. Any other announcements, prayer requests, anything this week? All right. Well, there that is. Like Randy said, touch and agree and govern yourselves accordingly. All right. So Brandy sent this story. Very interesting. Now, this is definitely say you ain't got no friends without saying you ain't got no friends. This lady in Italy, ain't nobody seen her since 2019. Okay? She's been sitting at her kitchen table the whole damn time. She's sitting there like Norman Bates' mama, just sitting. Ain't nobody called to check on her. Ain't nobody seen the mailbox overflow. The milk bottles are still on the porch.
Ain't bought no pandemic food box.
Nothing. Maybe that's this.
She didn't have no church home.
She didn't have no church home. She ain't have one. She ain't have nobody. She lived in Lake Como area in the Lombardy region of northern Italy. Let's see here. They went 2.5 years ago. So they thought she had moved because of the coronavirus. But what happened was they went to her house to warn them about some harsh weather in the area, and they found her just in there. So yeah, she was an older woman. So it does say that about 40% of Italians over 75 live alone. She was alone. Obviously, she had no family or no family to check on her, but the city or the township is paying for the funeral. So ain't nobody got to bring no check sodas or nothing because they gonna pay for it. So you just come on down to the rectory.
Catered funeral.
Yeah, they're Italian, so that food gonna be good. Them grandmas really gonna bring a couple casserole dishes. But if you want to drop off,
they're gonna cook for about 90 people.
Yeah, so if you want to bring some check sodas down there, you can do that because they don't need something to drink.
So what?
Can't
So
bring,
Because country folk bring check sodas.
we can't bring a bucket of
my
puddles.
people bring Shasta.
Ain't no fam.
Girl,
Ain't no
can you
family.
still buy Shasta?
Yes.
Where?
I don't know, but they bring
I
Shasta.
seen it in the store right next to Check Sodas.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you that Shasta fruit punch is always on point. It's always, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but that Shasta Cola hit too. Like
And do.
the Shasta Cola used to hit.
Somebody need to bring the check.
I never had that soda.
Have since
never-
they catering, I won't bring my bucket of chicken and Hawaiian rolls.
Yeah. You could save that for the next few, but definitely go down there and take them sodas. So, yeah, her name, Miss Beretta, Marinella Beretta. She had no living relatives, and she was in there for
Sad.
2.5 years sitting at a table.
So they found her
Mummified.
Yeah, she was mummified, just sitting at the table, eating her bread and cheese, and gone. So, I wish I could say, my condolences to the family, but she ain't got no family, but, to the townsfolk. But that's just messed up. They ain't about to check on her now. Mail just coming, milk bottles at the door. And ain't nobody said it. Where Miss Beretta go?
Maybe
She's
they
70.
thought she left for the pandemic to go.
She was 75, and if she didn't have no relatives, where was she going?
I don't know. Maybe they thought she found a niece or nephew somewhere.
But them little villages, everybody know your business.
Or she estranged.
And then if it's been years and you notice the mailman noticed that bill stacking up over years,
Well, none of them old folks was coming out because of the panty. So none of them was coming out. Check.
Well, now she going in the upper room.
She went on.
How do you say upper room in Italian?
Upper A roommate.
Flag on the play, Brad. Flag on the play. Flag on the play. Like Jackie just put her head down.
I'm looking up upper room in Italian. Oh, y'all ready? Okay, I got it.
Stanza superiore.
Did y'all hear?
What is it?
Hey, one more.
Stanza superiore.
Okay, one more time.
Upper to relay?
I was close.
No.
Stanza superiore.
You weren't close, Brad.
Was
Was not. All right, let's go ahead and talk about, before we get into our story, talking about Kitty Genovese this week, which kind of is relevant to what happens now in people recording on, with cell phones. But this happened over almost 60 years ago. But in talking about social media, Kanye is on the radar again. So a couple weeks ago, D.L. Hewley, comedian, activist, author, was being interviewed by Vlad TV, and they asked about Kanye, like his opinions about Kanye West. Like they asked him. He gave his opinion, basically said that what he was doing was wrong, and if it was his daughter, something, he wouldn't stand for it, and also that if Kanye wasn't a celebrity, this wouldn't be entertaining. This wouldn't be a thing. Like we'd be all on top of this if he wasn't an entertainer. Well, Kanye comes back, goes in on DL, basically saying God doesn't love you. He's basically threatening him. And people are kind of like on Kanye's side. Like,
oh Lord. Oh yeah.
Like I saw.
That's what I want. Who does Kanye know?
I don't know.
And he don't know DL very well because DL wasn't always.
He wasn't always saved.
He didn't always have a church on.
He wasn't always saved. So, this is a comment that I saw from someone that, I'm in a social media group with, was that, to paraphrase, that basically Black people have traditions of keeping things in-house and not taking things out our problems outside of our house or outside of our community. And that D.L. Hewley kind of broke that code because he shouldn't have said anything. He should be trying to help him.
No, Kanye
What?
broke that when he came out
That-
saying all that.
that was exactly my reply. I said Kanye broke it when he took his business and put it on social media. If he did not want the commentary, he shouldn't have put his business. Kanye only wants the opinions of those that agree with him.
Exactly.
Anyone who doesn't agree with him is wrong, and he's going to attack. He's a megalomaniac. He's a psycho. He's a narcissist. All of this. And also, two people are saying, well, he needs help. We need to help him.
He doesn't want help.
Help who?
That boy can afford medication.
Yeah, he doesn't want help. He thinks he's
help.
okay. He thinks he doesn't want the help. He doesn't want help.
He doesn't want help.
He doesn't think he's wrong.
And I'm like, this, someone said that what he's doing is criminal. And they were like, well, where are the charges? Listen, just because someone isn't charged for a crime doesn't mean it's not a crime. Just because here's the thing. Threats, harassment, those ramp up and lead to crimes. Stalking,
Yes, they do.
and all of those things, they lead to a more serious crime. And even though he's a celebrity and he may only go so far, but he may even go even farther. We know of celebrities who have taken it farther. And
it might not even be him. It might be a fan who's like, Kanye
Right.
don't like this guy, and so I'm gonna take it upon myself.
Right. To hurt his soon-to-be ex-wife, her current love interest, and inadvertently hurt the children or anyone in her family. It's like, you have to stop. This is criminal. I don't care if he's been charged or not. And the only reason he has not been charged for stalking and harassment is because he's a celebrity. Because you are making terroristic threats on social media. You are making music videos with images of his ex-wife's current love interest with his head cut off, and you doing all these crazy things. Kathy Griffin lost her career for doing that. She lost her career. Right. And you're doing this to multiple people. And it's crazy that people defend him and say, well, he just wants his family back. Do you know how many women have lost their lives because their husband wanted their family back? The guy just...
And did you see how he behaved today? Did you see his behavior today?
Yes, I just saw that.
Pete literally talked back, like, finally, after being bullied, he finally said something like, look, I'm fine. You need to just worry about your children. Leave us alone. We're just dating. It's not a big deal. So after Kanye keeps talking noise, he says, well, what are you doing anyway? He said, well, I'm actually with your wife. We're laying down relaxing. Oh, why is social media mad at Pete? They are mad. How disrespectful. And then Kanye on there like this. I think I'm going to take my children back. I hope y'all come to church on Sunday service. So we can, this is how he's looking. So we can make rest, because God knows I am now scared for my children. I'm scared for their lives. I mean,
because who's watching while you're in bed with my wife? Who's watching my children? The same people who've been watching them 7, 8 to 9, 10 nannies.
The nannies.
Same people.
The same one.
The nannies.
And this is my thing. And this is not just centered on the Black community and Black men, but those are the ones that I know. Mm-hmm. Men have an entitlement problem when it comes to their wives or their significant others. If he can go out and do the neighbor, her sister, her cousin, her mama, her auntie, her best friend, the girl at work, and anybody else he can get his hands on. But the moment that she leaves him and go and get somebody else, all of a sudden he wants his family back. And then our communities, whether they be Black, Hispanic, white, or whatever, our communities, our people, our contemporaries, our communities support the man in wanting to get his family back. because he will do anything. He will stalk the woman. He will destroy her life financially, socially. But
doing everything the opposite of trying to get your family.
Of trying to get the wife back. But we will support that and say he just wants his wife back. His wife, that's his wife. His wife is in the bed with another man. But didn't she catch him in the bed with 16 other women at some point?
Yes.
He had like 3 or 4 girlfriends.
He has a girlfriend right now, but now you're saying that he's jealous.
He had 2 or 3 girlfriends.
Right. He has a clone of her. But you're saying that he has a clone of her, but we're supporting the fact that he's doing all this crazy shit because he wants his wife back. No, if you wanted your wife back, you would stop doing whatever it was that you were doing to lose her and not antagonize her at every turn, because now I really don't want you. That's why I left. Mm-hmm. And if he should, and I'm not saying that this is true or that he'll do this, but in the event that harm comes to her from him, we will still sit 10 toes down and our butts on the floor. All he did was want his wife back. She should have given him another chance.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, Kanye ain't even riding for us no more. He left this and that. He ain't even riding for us no more. So
you
riding for him.
We are the coat that he wears when it gets cold in the white section. That's when he puts us on. He wears this coat of blackness when it gets cold over there, when the shoulders turn, and that's when he wears that. Because this is, again, as we said this before, that's the bed that you made, sir. You had a black fiance, a black girlfriend, a black fiance, a black girlfriend. Once you got where you wanted to be, and you got money, and you got a lot of money, more money than before, you felt like you can't. This is not enough for you anymore. These women and this life and this culture is not enough for you anymore. That's dirty. You want it over here. You wanted this over here. My grandmama said, if you lay with dogs, you're gonna get fleas. Now you over here, you infested, and you want us to come in and spray you down and cure you. No, we're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. This is what you want. So stay over there. Don't pander to us over here no more. But I think, Brandon, we were talking about this earlier with Kevin Samuels. He panders to us, but in pandering to us, he's really pandering to Black men, because he taps into the entitlement that Black men have, and also to the sense of loss that Black men think that they have. They think that women take everything from them. Most men don't have enough for me to take anything from you in the first place. But it taps into that. She's taking everything from you. You need to get it back. She's disrespecting you by having this man in her bed. First of all, it's her bed. And at some point, bro, you didn't have shit. You didn't have shit.
And I don't want to hear about how she's Kim. We know she's Kim.
We know
At
that.
the end of the day, that doesn't mean her protection or her that is any different. It means nothing.
At the very
doesn't matter.
She's a woman.
I heard people saying, "Well, she just said the thing about work." Yeah, she did, but that doesn't mean that he gets to just stalk her.
I don't care anything about the Kardashians. Not an ounce.
I don't.
But my concern comes is because that is a woman, period. And no woman deserves this, because we all know where that leads to. We all know where this leads to or can lead to. And it's very dangerous. And the fact that we don't address it, the police don't address it, media doesn't address it, no one's putting him in a position that, bruh, you're going to have to stop. Then, okay, what happens when he's on trial for her murder or an assault? Where y'all gonna be? She doesn't deserve it because she took naked pictures. No, First of all, you knew that when you married that woman.
And then why is he talking to Ray J? He talking to Ray J, getting Like, I'm like, what are you doing?
He
Like,
said in this latest rant, he said he got advice from Tory Lanez.
Wow.
I was like, you know what?
And
What?
with that, we're done.
We just gonna leave that there. We'll leave that there. So y'all go ahead and sip that tea and absorb that. Kanye is getting advice from Tory Lanez. Yep. All right, let's move along. All right, so we're gonna move along to a case that kind of resembles exactly what we're talking about: media, media attention, and also the public's apathy towards people. So this story is about Katherine Kitty Genovese. In 1964, Kitty lived in Queens, and she was attacked. Just kind of gloss over this. She was attacked in front of her home, in view of some of her neighbors, and most of them could hear her attack.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, no one did anything. It was kind of like, well, I thought they were going to call. I thought someone else was going to call.
Well, I didn't want to get involved.
I didn't want to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
So for over a half hour, this woman is being stabbed, robbed, and sexually assaulted in front of her home. All right. So,
Sad.
excuse me. So basically what happens, Kitty Genovese, she was about 30, almost 30 when this happened. 28, so it's almost 30.
28.
She worked at a bar. She just recently, she got a job at a bar, and she was on her way home that night. This happened in March. I believe it's March of 1964. And she's on her way home, and someone starts to follow her in a car. Someone she doesn't really know, but he follows her home, and he parks, and he sees her, and he grabs her, and he starts to stab her. And she screams out, "Help me, I'm being stabbed," or something to that. And someone could hear her, but no one did anything. She is outside of her apartment. So she tries to get away. She's not able to get away. No one comes to her aid. He stabs her several times over the next 30 minutes in an alleyway on the side of her apartment building. He runs away. As he's running away, she's trying to crawl into her building. She's still alive at this point, and she's like screaming out, "I'm dying, I'm dying." Windows, it says in an article from 1964 from the New York Times, it says that lights went out. The killer returned to Miss Genovese, now trying to make her way around to the side of the building by the parking lot to get to her apartment. The assailant stabbed her again. "I'm dying," she shrieked. "I'm dying." Windows were opened again, and the lights went on in many apartments. The assailant got into his car and drove away. Miss Genovese staggered to her feet. A city bus, the 010, the Lefferts Boulevard line to Kennedy International passed. It was 3:35 a.m. A whole city bus passed her. Lights went on and lights went off in apartments. Windows open and windows closed. That meant they heard her. They turned on the lights to see. They opened the windows and closed the windows. And he drove away.
30 people were witnesses to the crime. 30 people.
They were somehow a witness to this crime. And virtually no one did anything. This was a couple of years before the 911 system had gone national. But afterwards, there were several calls, but they were kind of like, this, like no one could really give any concrete information. Let's see here.
This story also shows the inaccuracy of witness statements, because this was a white man, a black man, a short man, a tall man. I mean, it was everyone but a woman.
Yeah. But here's the thing. He wasn't there just during that one time. He came back twice.
Came back.
So at 3:35, when the bus passes and he had left, he comes back. She's trying to crawl into the building. He sees her. He tries to get in. Like he's going around the building. She wasn't where she wasn't where he thought she should be. He goes around to the door on Austin Street. He sees her, and then he stabs her again. This is the wound that kills her. This is the wound that kills her. Do you know how is it possible that he's stabbing her for 30 minutes, assaulting her for 30 minutes, leaves and comes back and does it again, and nobody sees it?
Girl, it happens today. Except folks see it, they might see it, but they're so busy trying to record it that
they don't report it.
They don't report it.
And that's the thing about social media and our phones now, is that we want to capture this, but we're not doing the most important thing by calling or moving into action to stop it. We would rather let it continue so that we can see the entire thing, the whole crime happen, but we don't want to take action and stop the crime.
Or it's those who say, oh, it's a domestic situation, I'm not going to get into it.
Right. So there's a thing called, it's called public apathy, I believe it is. Or, oh my God, what is it called? Basically, after this happened, there were entire classes and seminars and on this theory of public apathy, where a group of people will see something and no one will act on it because, like Randy said, I don't want to get involved, or maybe I think you're going to do it, or I'm not going to do it, and we just watch and walk away. This was 60 years ago.
I was watching this documentary on ID Discovery, where there was a mother. She had 3 children, and she had a new boyfriend. She had this boyfriend for a while, and she was one of the ones who wouldn't show that she was being abused. She would cover it up, make excuses or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody really knew, except for her neighbor. Her neighbor would hear all the time. She would hear when the police would come. She would hear all this. She would hear all this stuff. Well, I don't think the police came. The police never came.
Mm-hmm.
But she said that she didn't call because she didn't want the children to be stuck, for Child Protective Services to come in there and take the children away, break up the children. But because she didn't call, he ended up killing the mama and one of the children, and almost was going to kill the other 2, but they somehow talked him down. And she says she feels so much guilt because she should have called the police. She heard them fighting all the time. She should have called the police, but she says she hesitated because she did not want those kids to be separated. And that happens especially for Black people right now with the police and everything. They don't want to call the police because they don't trust the police, or somebody, you might end up getting killed and you're the one that called the police to protect somebody else. So they for those reasons. And then
Exactly.
it ends up being, something tragic.
It's like a false sense of morality, or a skewed, I won't say false, I'll say a skewed sense of morality, because like in your case when you're talking about the documentary, the children's welfare was more important than the entire family's welfare. So she's
Mhm.
thinking of the children. I don't want to put the children in a bad place,
But they're
but
already in a bad place.
exactly, exactly. Because potentially the mom could get the children back. You're thinking that because she's being abused, the children will be taken away from her. She'll never be able to see her kids again.
And that's
But you're
because it's happened. You're thinking about past things. That's because it can happen. We see all the time in the news that someone called. What was the lady that called? She needed help with her son because he had some mental health issues, and the police come and shoot the man in her yard. And she's like, "I came for you to help me with my son because he has mental health issues, and you killed him." So you can't say that it doesn't happen. Um, but on the other hand, you like caught in the middle, like, if I don't do if I don't do it, but then something happens and the person's dead or
it's a
injured.
catch-22. You're damned if you do and
Like,
damned if you don't.
should have done something.
Right.
And then there's the, you're told that you mind your business. You don't know, you don't
Mm-hmm.
get in nobody else's business. You stay out their business. Don't worry about what they're doing. Oh well, let them work their own problems out. Let them fix it. Don't you get in their business. You
Right.
know. So that was like
And
that's the big thing
and
as well.
especially, and we know this because it's especially true in Black communities, to where we have all manner of crimes in and out of our communities, in our homes, but we'll never talk about it because one of the biggest rules that you learn as a child in a Black household. Now, I don't know if this is true now. It's definitely not true for my child. But when I grew up, the Gen Xers, what happens in my house stays in my house. Your mom and daddy could fight like Ike and Tina, and they could come out looking like Ike and Tina did when they came out that damn limousine. And somebody can ask you and they will look at you and double damn dog dare you to say a word about the black eyes and split lips.
What's going on, man?
They will act like they don't have a knot on their face and, jaw is swollen. They will act because you're not supposed to say anything. And what happens is we carry that trauma forward because now if something happens to us personally, even as adults, we are very, very, very like timid about talking about that thing.
I didn't tell my kids that because there's no secrets, because there could be someone in that home that is harming you, and because you've told your kid this, your kid will not tell you.
Will not tell you.
Will not
Will
tell you.
not tell you.
You don't know. You need to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no. The thing is, don't do nothing for nobody to take out to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do nothing that would be harmful for you if they went out and told it.
Right.
Because little kids tell everything.
So will.
Yes. Yes.
Without a
Yes.
hitch.
I
Yeah.
remember when I
Without a
was
hitch.
teaching, these kids would say, talking about everything that was happening. Mom got choked out on the computer, all this kind of stuff. And there was one girl in the class who would not say nothing at all. I remember somebody said something about getting their house raided. And I know that she had her house raided as well.
Mm-hmm.
But she did not say a word like, "Oh yeah, that happened to me," or and she was 5 years old. She
It
knew.
had been drilled into her that you do not, probably by the threat of violence, like do
I was
not
just going to
say
say that.
anything. Do not say anything about what goes on in my house. And we get that from this generation of Kitty Genovese. We got that from them, and they got it from their parents and their parents. We get that from them.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying some of the people they actually interviewed said, I didn't want to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
It was none of my business. I thought
Yeah.
it was just a quarrel. And I think one lady did call the police, but then she said that she was scared, so she hung up.
Someone yelled out the window.
It's crazy that this is your neighbor. This is your neighbor, and I don't want to get involved. It's not my business.
And think about how tight communities were during that time. The communities were way tighter than they are now. Everybody know
Right.
everybody who knows everybody who knows everybody, and we're all involved and very involved in each other's lives. So I was just like, considering the type of relationships that they had around this time, just based on knowing the history of this era, how could no one?
Because they thought somebody else was going to do it.
I think it's kind of like the mob mentality. At some point, one or two people make a decision in a group, and it's an unconscious decision. They don't even have to speak it, but a decision has been made, and somehow the collective understands the decision. Everybody knows the assignment,
And you were also
and we
talking
follow.
Yeah. You're always talking about the time that it was. At that time, beating up your wife wasn't no crime. So if they thought that
No,
was a domestic dispute, where's the crime? Women's getting beat up all the time. Police didn't do nothing. I mean, that's a domestic issue. So that could be another reason why they said they don't want to get involved. I mean, people still say that now, or they'll say, "I'll try to stop it, and then she'll be back. She'll be back with them again." So they were fighting, and I'm like, you don't even know this person to know that. You see somebody fighting, you don't even got to stop it. All you have to do is call the police. But they'll say that's a domestic issue, and back then you probably could rape your wife, and it wouldn't even be called rape because
it wasn't rape.
it's a marriage.
It's your wife, yeah.
So the times too, like that wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
crime against your wife. If that was a domestic issue, it was they'll get over it or whatever, and go on about their way. So that could have been a part of it too.
There's I don't know if Brandy's probably heard me talk about the Leviathan. Because I always think there's some sort of crazy monster in the ocean. But okay, so the reason why I said that is because there's a book called The Leviathan. Huh?
There's gotta be.
There is the Leviathan, and it's gonna eat up everybody. But
come and attack her for some reason.
It's not just me. It's whoever's going to be around me at the time that the light comes out.
She don't get, she's not going. No, she's not going on no water that's more than 2 feet.
No, I ain't sleeping on it. But anyway,
down there.
Talking about like this collective thought, right? So, in the 15th century, there was an author called Thomas Hobbes. If you are a literature major or whatever, you had to read Hobbes. But he had this book called The Leviathan, and he talked about the social contract theory. And basically, it is the justification of political principles or arrangements by appeal to the agreement that would be made among suitably situated, rational, free thinking persons. Basically, what that boils down to is a decision is made, and we will all follow it for the good of everybody. And that's that unconscious decision that we're not going to do that. It's kind of like everyone's looking around. Like if you're in church and somebody's laughing or something's funny, you kind of look like, do I laugh? And if you see somebody smirk or giggle, then you feel as if it's okay. You have permission. We talked about this, Brandy, you brought up the boys in Australia who were killing gay men. And you were like, they didn't know. They did know, but they thought they had permission because it had already been decided, even without words. The society of the time had decided that gay men were evil and they could be killed. So that was the social contract that they had. Those people go ahead.
So you know what this reminds me of? It reminds the bully that got killed 30-something years ago, the whole town
in like Kansas or something, and no one said anything, no one saw anything, but they all killed him.
The whole town has not said a word.
He died on Main Street in the middle of the afternoon, like 3:00 in the afternoon. They hated him, and when they did an investigation, everybody's like, I don't know. And they were like, but you were across the street. I know. The lady who was in the car with him that day was like, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I heard the gunshot, but I didn't see who it was.
I didn't see who did it. They're like, he was shot like right here. How could you not know? I don't. everybody in the town had agreed without speaking he had to die. It was for the good of everybody that he is gone. So we're not going to say anything.
And they still don't know who did it.
They know exactly who did it, but we're not going to let this person be charged. Even though they committed the ultimate sin, we're agreeing that this was okay. We're going to justify this because it was for the greater good.
Even though everybody was there, there's no
eyewitnesses
to give
to the crime.
Account. So you can have a guy and say this is him, but you don't have any evidence. And this is
to support it.
So you don't have evidence to say, because nobody will come forward and say, I saw this happen in the town square at the at the Mercantile,
right,
in the middle of town, in the middle of the day.
Exactly.
So that explains that theory perfectly.
Exactly. We've all made a decision. We're not going to say anything. And they did it without a town meeting. There wasn't a phone tree. There wasn't a note. It was at that moment. Somehow the universe got to everybody and was like, we're not talking. We're not talking. That's the same thing that happens here. We're not talking. In a neighborhood where like you guys said, like somebody's being abused, we're not going to talk. Mm-hmm. Go into an urban neighborhood and have the police go into an urban neighborhood and ask questions.
Ain't nobody talking.
You could be sitting on the porch, ma'am. There's man was shot out right outside your gate right there. Did you see anything? Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. But you're right here looking. I ain't seen nothing.
I didn't see nothing.
But you do red eyes.
What shots? I didn't hear no shots.
Because it's already been decided for the good of the neighborhood. Not necessarily the person that did the crime, but the good of the neighborhood. Because if they come here and they investigate this, they're going to investigate that and that and that and that, and they'll always be here. So for the good of the neighborhood, we'll let this go. We're going to protect it. That's kind of, like Randy said, that's exactly what happened to the guy. I think it was Kansas or Iowa, some Midwestern state that happened in. But this is exactly what happened to Kitty Genovese. It was a public apathy. No one person cared enough to break the silence of that night. No one person, because I guarantee you that if one person had called the police and made a successful call, that person would have called, like the neighborhood would have been on the phone. Like, did you hear that? What did you hear?
Yeah. When they finally did call, it only took 2 minutes for the police to get there.
Right. But it was too late. That man made 3 cycles to get her. He showed up, he assaulted her, he left, and he came back. He made 3 cycles to come again. He had time in a busy Queens neighborhood, the city that never sleeps. And no one did anything. And like I said, I guarantee you, had one person got on the phone and called their neighbor and said, did you hear something in that coming from the alley? You know what I did? Let me tell Fred to go down there and see what's going on. And then let's go see. Let's go see. Let's go see. Somebody call the police. No one person made the move to break it. And this woman crawled up her stoop. Her hands were so bloody she couldn't open the door. So she was just there at the door. But she was there. She crawled from the alley around the building. No one saw that. But the guy who did it was able to circle around and come back and go around the building to find her and give her the fatal stab.
And they seen him come back. They said he came back. They said he drove a white compact car and he had left and then the car come again. And then this time he had a fedora on. And he
tried to hide his face. What happened to the people on the bus? They passed her. The bus driver didn't stop. And I think New York has a bad reputation. Maybe it's deserved of just kind of things happen and they step over things. It's a perception in New York that they're so busy, they move so quickly that if something happens, it just happens and they move along. I don't necessarily think that's absolutely true, but this is kind of proving that theory that if something happens to you, it better not happen in New York because they don't care. You know what I mean?
And
And
I
it's
don't even know. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'll
It's
say I
sad
don't
to
even
think that
know
that's it.
what's worse now with people doing it with cell phones, watching people get beat up. You remember that transgender girl was at the gas station and um, it was something petty that happened, and she was
Mhm.
getting beat up by like 20 or 30 men.
Yeah, I remember that.
Nobody did anything. They just
I remember that. Everybody recorded.
recorded
Mhm.
it. Like they would have killed her.
But again, that goes along with that the one person does it and then everyone else thinks it's okay.
So, but I'm saying,
So
what do you think it's worse now that they have they're actually looking at it, these cell phones, and they're not saying anything, or is it just as bad as the people who looked out the window and said, I'm not getting involved? Which
I
is
think
it
it's
the
the
same?
same. I think it's the same. Just like when crimes happen, they're talking about police brutality. It's the same police brutality that people experienced 60 years ago. Now we can see it.
Cameras.
Now we
Mhm.
have visual proof of it. It's the same thing. People don't change that much. Times change, culture changes, but people are consistent. The human race is consistent. Our minds don't change that much. We have not evolved out of this type of behavior. So we do the same things. We are creatures of habit, and we adopt those habits from the previous generations. And now we've adopted it, but now we've got electronics.
Even I think even with recording with electronics, when I always see a video that is posted online, obviously it hasn't went anywhere else. It seems as if they want somebody else to tell because they don't want nothing to do with it. They just want somebody else to tell what they've
Or
recorded,
entertaining?
or to
Right.
be entertaining. But it's also like, well, I don't want them. No, I don't want to be dealing with it. I don't want the problem of it. Even though we know that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like in their mind, they're like, well, here, let me pin it off on somebody else, so I'm not the only one with this information. So now someone else can go tell and deal with
Mm-hmm.
it. Which is
And
crazy.
then I might be able to piggyback off of it or add my
Yes.
commentary on social media or whatever. But like you said, Jackie, no one wants to be responsible enough to be the one that tells, because we come from a society where snitches get stitches and we're not supposed to tell. You can't break the code. But at what point is the code irrelevant and harmful?
Girl, I
Because
don't even like a
you're
code.
protecting what?
If I
You're
see it, don't tell, I'm
protecting
telling.
you're protecting this unwritten
Penny.
social code at the expense of a human life.
I'm telling. So don't do no crimes near me because I'm telling they all plus some. So don't tell it near. Don't do nothing near me. I'm letting you know now. Don't do nothing
And
near
I'm
me.
just as guilty of it. So I can't be, I don't want to be hypocritical, because we've talked about this. Like, if somebody that I know have done something, I have to judge whether or not I'm going to be forthcoming with the information. But I will say that I am not going to break out my phone if I see someone being harmed. I'm not breaking out my phone to record. I'm breaking out my phone to call somebody for help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling for help. Do you need help? I'm making some noise. I'm blowing the horn, making some sort of distraction. I'm not bringing out my phone so I can record. That's somebody else's job. Somebody else is recording this. I promise you they are. But no one is going to take the initiative and grab a little bit of courage and say, we got to save this person.
That's
Have
Because
y'all seen
now,
those?
be thinking about grabbing a phone to record. I
Me
wouldn't
either.
even be thinking about that.
Have y'all seen like those little, like, it's this group of people and they do like scenarios to see how people will actually respond to a crime happening in front of him? And they were trying to kidnap kids. Do you know these people were walking by
and I
and
seen they were doing them in Mexico. They were doing something in Mexico.
screaming help, and they were literally going, she's like, he's kidnapped me, please help me. And they're falling out. And these people were literally, and he's like, come on, no, shut up before and they weren't doing, I was like complete shock. I was like, what?
But on the flip side, these are the same people that will call the police on you for doing nothing but existing. The same people. I'm getting groceries in and
I
out of
take
my
my
car,
chance. If I see a kid
and
doing
they'll
that,
call
I
the
just
police on
go
you because
crazy.
maybe you're stealing out of the car. What are you talking about? But if
I'm
someone
telling
was
you.
really stealing my car, you wouldn't say anything.
I'm like BW. I'm telling you.
You ain't even gotta steal your car. She don't look like she belongs here.
Right. But then somebody else will come out and steal your car, and they'll be like, well, I thought it was his. How did you think it was his? And he had a whole damn hanger jerking against my damn
Window.
lock. Yeah. Like, how did you think that was his car? Like, did at some point you say,
Around.
hey, sir, did you lock your keys in there? Well, yeah. Well, where'd you put them? Because I don't see them in the ignition. Like, be nosy like that.
Somebody.
And no
Do you
like
need me
him.
to call? And then you'll be able to fill out the person, because if you say, do you need me to call somebody? No, I got it. No, let me call my husband. He can help you open the door. Then they'll get a little shaky, and then you'll know that that's not that. But it's a crazy thing how what our sense of morality is and what it's based on. One of the things I thought of, and this probably isn't true, but it's probable. Kitty Genovese was in a relationship with a woman. It was open. She wasn't hiding it. We're talking 1964. In Queens.
Had a problem with that.
I'm wondering, and this just came to me. This is, could it, because people judge you on your lifestyle. Could it have been kind of like, I'm not going to help her because she's a lesbian, or she's, she's low on the moral scale, or things like that. You know what I mean?
Not everyone thought it, but someone did.
Because I really think that this is a crime.
Someone possibly could have thought that.
Right. I think this is like what is his name? Winston Mosley is the guy who killed her. He was a serial killer. So it is definitely his crime, and it was his cross to bear. Or burden to bear rather. But I also think that the community, maybe because she's a woman, and like Brandy said, you could rape your wife and it wouldn't be rape. You could beat your wife and it was discipline. That a crime against a woman, a lesbian woman, in 1964 would have been, she got what she deserved. That kind of an attitude. So I'm wondering if somewhere in the back of someone's head, they knew who it was. They saw her and she was coming home at 3 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. working at a bar in 1964. So it's all these little things kind of adding up to, she's a woman of loose morals. She gets what she gets. And maybe that was a conversation at some point with them, people sitting on the stoops, you know what I mean? And then they just said, we're not gonna.
Well, I'm saying, like, someone goes, someone thinks it. They don't think, oh, well, she was a woman anyway. She thinks she's a man. So she should be able to fight off whoever that is.
Right.
Someone thought it. Stupid.
Yeah, it's just,
if you saw her, you saw him.
Right. Exactly. So the guy who did this, Winston Mosley, turned out to be a serial killer. So he stalked and killed her that night just for the sole purpose of killing her. He had also attacked a woman not too long before this happened. And then a year prior to that, he had also killed a 15-year-old in her home. That 15-year-old, that crime against the 15-year-old, they actually took a 10-year-old boy to trial. That might be misprinted, but from the article I read, that they took a 10-year-old boy, and after Winston Mosley confessed, the district attorney still wanted to try the 10-year-old, and they did, but he kept confessing, so the jury in that trial was unable to convict the young man. Again, that might be a misprint on the 10 years old, because I was kind of like, what? But yeah, he He was a serial killer. He was actually, the way that he was caught was about a week after the murder, he was involved in a burglary and someone recognized his car. Well, someone stopped him. What it was someone stopped him. They kind of pinned his car in so he couldn't leave. The police get there, and then they kind of put two and two together, and they recognize, because the people gave a better description of the car than they did Winston Mosley. So the police were very easily able to tell that this was the car that whoever killed Kitty Genovese, this was the car that they were driving. They did a search of the car, they found some stuff, and then that's how they got him downtown, and he just started talking. But that's crazy. You give a description of the car, a white sedan, and they gave a lot of detail, and that's how they were able to identify Winston Mosley. He was convicted. He got the death penalty, I think, but they commuted it to life, and then he died. He did like 54 years or something like that, and he died like not too long ago of this. So it's just crazy how something that happens almost 60 years ago parallels right now. They didn't have social media, you know, they were still doing party lines in 1964. And the same thing happens now. We still have that collective apathy towards people. Think about what George Floyd, and it's crazy that when George Floyd died, we saw this man draw his last breath. Yet there were people who said, well, he used to do drugs. What the hell does that have to do with this moment? Well, he got in a fight with his girlfriend. He beat his girlfriend up one time. What does that have to do with this man being a victim? Now, I think that's the same sort of bullshit that was, you know, in these people's minds in Kitty's neighborhood. Well, you know, she's a lesbian. Like Jackie said, she can protect herself. She walks, you know, which one of them is the man in the relationship? That type of, you know, those types of thoughts. So we make judgments on the victim. We make judgments against Trayvon Martin. That's why his killer was not convicted, because we judged the victim on who we thought he was. And I'm going to say we, because we're a part of society, who we thought he was, what they were doing. Breonna Taylor, where her boyfriend had a gun. Someone she knew used to sell drugs. What's it got to do with the police coming and killing her? What does that have to do with it? So we make judgments on the victim, and from there, we decide whether that victim deserves help. We decide based on our moral code whether they need help or not. Damn that they're bleeding. Damn that someone just beat him up. Well, you know he'd been in jail. Ma'am, that man just got beat up in front of you. Well, you know, he was always a bad kid. That's I believe that is exactly what happened with Kitty Genovese. They made moral judgments based on her and her lifestyle, where she worked, who she loved, who she slept with, and they decided she doesn't deserve our help. And I hope and pray that how many of the witnesses there were, that y'all took that shit to your grave, that it never left you. That it never left your mind, that y'all let this woman die. You let her crawl to her death. You let her die on y'all front porch and did nothing. I hope it stayed with them. And maybe that's because I ain't got a church home. But I hope it stayed with them.
You know what we should do at the end of the show? We should start doing Brandy's thoughts, because at the end of the show, for every show, Brandy gives us some of the best thoughts in the whole entire show. They just come out.
I ain't got no church home. I'll be doing that. I ain't got no church home. It should just be called Brandy ain't got no church home.
That's what we call. Brandy ain't got no church home.
And Brandy ain't got no church home. Y'all ask me, listen, you ask me anything about anything, and I'll be able to tell you whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Why? Because I ain't got no church home.
You got no church home.
And Brady, you cannot sing an A&B selection just because I ain't got no church home.
Why not?
Under the weather, but I'm just gonna give it to you how the Lord gave it to me.
Huh?
Y'all pray for me as I minister. You know that's how they be doing it.
Yeah, that's what they do.
So yeah, listen, just because I ain't got no church home don't mean I don't remember how it works in the church. Y'all, we gotta go because we'll sit here and do this all night. All right. Thank you guys for joining us again. This was episode 75. We will join y'all next week. So go have that cup of coffee and good night.